Good afternoon, and thank you for joining me on another episode of Ask Sharifah. We've really been having some fun today, had some really great interviews. We learned about so much, but our guest right now is a returning guest. And the people who come back are a little bit different because when I spoke to him the first time, I didn't have the honor or the privilege or even the information that I needed to be able to really ask some of the questions that I wanted to ask. And my guest said to me, Sharifah, don't worry about it. He put his book in the mail to me. And so in between that time, I've been checking out his book. And so I'm going to be speaking with Dr. Keis and his book. I've been surfing through it, have a lot of questions, and it is The Quest for Purpose. And so we're going to talk a lot about the quest for purpose with Dr. Keis. Good afternoon, Dr. Keis.
Good afternoon, Sharifah. Again.
It's great having you here. You are so informative. You have so much information, so much knowledge, and I definitely had to have you back, especially after reading your book.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here and a pleasure to serve the audience and everybody that's watching today or watching on the replay.
Absolutely. So one of the things that stood out to me is it says, Keis, PhD, is considered one of the foremost global authorities on how assessment strategies and processes not only increase, but multiply your success rate. So I read a lot of information, but I want to talk about assessment strategies. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I have a second book, and I'll just bring it up here to the camera, called Why Aren't You More Like Me, which I reference. And so Consulting Resource Group, or crgleader.com, is my assessment company. I bought it from the founder, Dr. Terry Anderson. This is our 40th year. One of the things that we believe is that if we're going to realize our potential in life, there's all kinds of different methods and processes to achieve and realize our potential. One of those, which I believe is a critical piece, is this idea of using assessments to create self-awareness, to benchmark our condition so that we can move forward. So example is, you go to your medical doctor, and you're across from me, and I'm Dr. Keis, you're the medical doctor, Sharifah, and I look at you and I says, Sharifah, I think your blood pressure is 120/80, but I don't put the blood cuff on your arm to measure it. You'd think I was a quack. So why wouldn't we do that in our life and have assessment strategies to be able to create clarity? Because we looked at, there's some new research. What are the 6 habits of high performers? And one of those 6 habits is clarity. Well, assessments contribute to clarity. It's not the end all be all, but it's a critical piece. So you get your blood pressure, you establish what it is. Now you need to act on it. So that's what we have, an entire set of assessments. So we have 10 assessments, 12 reports that go as a holistic matter. So we measure personality or personal style, wellness assessment. I have a nutrition and a diploma in nutrition and genetics. We talk about self-worth. We talk about environmental systems. We talk about values. We can get into learning styles, leadership skills, entrepreneurship. We can look at sales. We talk about job fit. So all of those assessments, and I mentioned 4 of them in the Quest book. I mentioned values, self-worth, wellness, and personal style, contribute to my clarity, contribute to me being deliberate. So give you an example. One of our #1 assessments is our values preference indicator. So if I know what my core values are, the research shows, Sharifah, that I can make the right decision almost every time. But if I don't even know what my values are or what the values list is, how could I even determine that? Everybody listening or watching to this knows or understands, well, what are your values? Okay, I get that. But we haven't done the work to get clarity. So a lot of times we're pulled in and we put values on our list because of social pressure, because of cultural pressure, maybe false expectations on our own behalf. So lots of times when people complete, let's say, our values preference indicator, they come out with a whole different list than what they thought it was and said, okay, that's part of the journey. That's part of that clarity process. So what do you really, really value? And what are you willing to own and have non-negotiable as you go forward? So when we think about assessments, and I work as a coach, as a consultant, as a speaker, as a trainer, if I work with an organization for any length of time, I actually refuse, not from an arrogant point of view, to work with them if they won't take a couple of the core assessments, because it's that important. It's sort of like you coming into the doctor and saying, I'm not going to do any of your tests because I don't believe in them. well, then I can't work with you. I can't help get a diagnosis for you because you're not willing to do the assessments.
Wow, a lot of information, and I have quite a few questions, but like I do at the beginning of every interview, I just ask that people go ahead and share this interview. We are live. Dr. Keis is here with us right now live. So if you have questions or comments, please go ahead and ask your questions in the comment section. Give your comments, and I'll go ahead and read those to Dr. Keis. But please share this interview because I say always, friends don't let friends miss out on Ask Sharifah. Why? Because this is valuable information. It's life-changing information. It's not just, we're just here having a friendly chat about TGIF and having a good time. This is information that can change your life. And then again, when I was looking at the book here, I'm just showing the back real quick, but it says, start living your life on purpose now. And so we talked about assessments a little bit, but let's just go back to the beginning. How does someone know or determine that they're not living a life that's on purpose?
Well, it's interesting. I haven't had that question asked that way before. Usually people know that they're not because they're not feeling fulfilled. They're not energized. And I'm not saying that every moment of your life is. I mean, I'm doing what I'm called to do. I know that. I mean, doing this is not work. This is play. Though what we want to do is, are you feeling fulfilled? Do you have meaning? Is what you're doing meaningful? Are you energized? Are you passionate? You know, if you're getting up to go to work and you just hate it, then we actually believe, I mentioned it in the book, that procrastination is actually good. And here's what I mean by that. It means three things. Number one, you're doing the wrong thing. Number two is you're doing the right thing in the wrong environment, or both. So it could be you're doing the right thing, but the people you're hanging out with or the work culture is not supportive, it's toxic. So then you kind of need to shift. So part of your responsibility as an individual on this planet is you need to do the work to figure it out. So part of everybody wants this to show up. So it's a good question. And I think everybody watching, you want to ask that question. Do I really feel that I'm on purpose? Now, I believe that every single person on the planet has an assignment, a calling, a meaning, or a purpose. Some of us could have sort of multiple streams in that. I mean, I'm not meant to be an airplane mechanic. You know, people will just die. It's not going to happen, right? I'm not meant to be some other things. That's fine. So there are two or three things around personal development as a speaker, writer, author, aggregator as a podcast host or a live host like you are. Then I'm just getting the information out there, and that's what I'm called to do. I'm also passionate about motorcycles. So that I might not make a living, but I love to ride my motorcycle. And during the summer, that's what I love doing almost more than anything else.
You mentioned a couple of things, but you also talk about sloth, and that stood out to me in your book, because so often, you know, we say we want to live a life on purpose, but we don't necessarily take the action steps to be able to do it or follow through.
I'm sorry, lazy people, you don't make the cut.
I was trying to be nice and polite with it.
I know you were, and so that's good. So they can love the host. And maybe not as much the guest, but I'm just saying that from an endearing point of view is that if you've been around people who are lazy, I'm sorry. There's very few, if anybody, who's made their life meaningful without effort. And so, you know, so being on purpose doesn't mean that you don't work hard. I mean, there's some days where I was writing this book. I took 3 months off to do the quest for purpose. And there were some days where, oh man, is there anything even coming to my head to shape the words? And I had to kind of push through those, I'll call it moments where I didn't really feel like writing anymore because I had done it for a couple of months. So, I mean, if you think about anybody that's been very, very successful, most people have some kind, all the research is clear. Persistence, grit, resilience is a core characteristic or quality of successful people. And if you're not resilient and if you're not persistent, then, you know, if I go and I work out this afternoon, and I say, you know, I didn't like that workout. And then you don't work out for the next year. Well, you're not going to be fit, are you?
Right.
So the lazy part of what happens, and I mentioned in the book, that we tend to become the people we hang out with. So there's even research that you really are a reflection of your 5 to 10 closest friends in all manners, attitude, net worth, all these kinds of things that apply to our lives. So my encouragement is if your friends are lazy, then the likelihood that you're going to be is as well. Now, it's not that you're better than them, you're just different. Mm-hmm. So my encouragement is, are you bringing people around you that reflects the value set that you want to move towards? Unfortunately in life, what happens is sometimes who we're becoming means that we need to move beyond who we've been with. Mm-hmm. Not because we're better, but because we're different. And it's not a judgment towards them. I'm just saying, you need to find maybe a new sort of mentor group, friendship group that's going to pull you in the direction that you want to go.
That makes sense, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. If you are just now tuning in, we are live with Dr. Ken Keis, and we're discussing his book, The Quest for Purpose. And so we talked a little bit about sloth. We talked a little bit about a few other things in assessments, and we're going to go back to the assessments. But the next thing was distractions. You were speaking about the friends and the 5 friends and the circle that we're around, but sometimes we do make our minds up and we say, you know what, I am going to live my life on purpose. I'm going to do what I have to do. And then all of a sudden it's like squirrel or whatever it is. And I'm distracted from living my life on purpose.
There's all kinds of research that shows that distraction decreases productivity. In fact, the research is that 500 million people in China now are addicted to either their phones or video games or some kind of multimedia like YouTube or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And so we talk about addicted to cigarettes, addicted to alcohol, addicted to drugs. The new drug is social media. And there's some people where, the fear of missing out and those things that happen is that the discipline, I don't even want to say this on air, but they did this street study in New York and said, would you like to be without sex or would you like to be without your phone? And they said, well, without sex, of course. Mm-hmm. And so that is just how addicted we are to the phone. So distractions, we need to kind of manage it. Now, for me, I have to work on this every single day. This is not something that is easy for me either, but here's what the research shows. Let's say you're working on something, Sharifah, and then you're interrupted by, a notification on your phone, maybe an email comes in. The research shows it takes 10 to 15 minutes to get back to the concentration level on what you were working on. Mm-hmm. So if I'm writing a book or writing a letter or writing an email to a colleague, and then I get something else in that takes me out, then it's going to take me 10 to 15 minutes to get back to that same level of focus about what I was working on. So our productivity goes way, way down. And then, I forget what the actual number is. I think it's the average person checks their phone about 150 times a day.
Wow.
Hello. And that's average. So there's some people that are 300, 400, 500, other people that are 50 or 10 or 20. Mm-hmm. So sometimes you have to turn off. So when I was writing my book, what I did is I turned off the internet on my computer, I turned my phone off, and I wrote for 3 hours. And I had to structure my situation or my area so that I could win. So, my encouragement to everybody watching is that you would set up a structure or process to win, and you wouldn't let the dopamine fix that you're getting from likes and shares and everything on your social media. It's not making your life richer. You think it is, but it's this fear of missing out or this fear of engagement. Just go and, decide. That's what top performers do. Decide what they need to do, and then they try to create an environment so they're not distracted.
Well, one of the things that you mentioned is addiction to the social media, addiction to, having to know what's going on. And to a certain extent, I think the term addiction has been phrased as something that prevents you from living the life that you're supposed to live. I don't know if I'm addicted or not, but I can tell you 2 things about me and my phone particularly. And my daughter always teases me. If I leave my house, even if I forget my phone, I could be an hour away. It doesn't matter. I'm turning around and I'm going back to get my phone because there's a comfort level of having my phone on me. I need to know what's going on. I don't want to miss out on anything. Or it could be an emergency. So I need to be contacted or maybe I need to contact someone. The other thing about me is that, like a lot of people, when I go to sleep, my phone is right next to my bed. And so when I wake up, if it's 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, if I get up and I'm just up, but I don't look at my phone, most likely I'll go back to sleep. You know, it's 2 a.m. You can still go back to sleep. But if I wake up and once I touch my phone or reach for my phone, I know I'm going to be up for the rest of the day. There's no way I'm going back to sleep because now I'm on my social media. I'm in my emails. I'm looking at missed messages. I'm not going back to sleep. Would that be considered an addiction?
What and your answer to that, Sharifah, is?
I don't know.
Sharifah, your answer to the question is?
I'm addicted. Am I addicted?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it is. To a certain extent.
How do I kick this habit?
You take that phone and you don't leave it by your bedside.
Okay.
Plug it into the room next door. Now, many of us use our phone as our alarm.
Yeah.
And that's fine, but we can find something else, a little battery clock or whatever, to break the habit. I mean, even from EMF, electromagnetic field, the idea of having your phone next to you is not the best for your sleep or your biology anyways. That's why I try not to ever hold my phone to my ear, just because, you know, they say that there's mixed research, but I'm not going to take the chance, and it does affect you to a certain degree. But yeah, it's part of managing that. Of course, I grew up in, 20 years ago, it was a non-issue. But it's interesting, as I travel now and I'm airports, try and find somebody who's not on their phone waiting in an airport now.
Right.
This whole relationship thing. Or you go out for dinner and you see a group of 6 individuals and they're all texting each other right at dinner. So no, put your phone away. The other one is, even Simon Sinek talks about this, is where you put your phone on the table at a dinner time. You're saying that phone is more important than that person. Get it out of there. It's a hard habit for me to break too, or put it in your pocket. Just make sure that that phone is not visible, because it's an unstated situation that you're saying that the phone is more important than the relationship and you and me right now as part of what's going on. And it is long-term not healthy.
One of the things you say in your book is you talk about why meaning comes before purpose. So we don't want to be lazy. We don't want to have all these distractions. So is that the reason why it's most important to find the meaning that's going to keep you driven and keep you going?
Well, here's what I mean by meaning. This is really, most books won't touch this topic because they're trying to be politically correct. I'm not politically correct. I want to say what's the truth. And so when I say meaning before purpose, I'm talking about, why are we here on this earth? What is the spiritual nature? I believe that we're spiritual beings having a physical experience, not the other way around. Now, there's many who are watching who don't agree with that. Well, that's fine. You are an independent moral agent, and so you can make your own decision. But one of the other things is, many of the other books, including Kenneth Robinson's book on the element, one of the bestsellers, said, you know what, I'm not going to talk about meaning or the spiritual basis. It's not important. No, it's core. I believe I have a faith base, and so I have a belief that there's a being beyond me, and that being gives me meaning, right? And so that's the reason I'm here. That's part of that process. So that's different than purpose. Meaning is the core reason that we even exist. Purpose is, what's my responsibility, or what's the underlying or undertow philosophy or focus of my life. So my purpose is to help others to live, lead, and work on purpose. And so my meaning is to really serve my creator. So from that, but I know, for me, I know that person exists, it's real, I have a relationship, and that's where I challenge people in the book to go on this spiritual journey to get clarity about that. The reason I included it is that I believe that I would be a disservice, because I've been on this journey for years and this quest, and I share my story in the back of the book, in the appendices, about how I came to this conclusion, where I've been all over the map in terms of my belief system and how I came to get clear about that, and why I believe it's so important for everybody is that as they look for their quest, that they need to look for meaning before purpose.
Okay, and so that's what you describe as your master life purpose.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, that's very interesting. Again, we have quite a few people in the chat room. Want to say hello to Amber, Anthony, Jermaine, Tammy. If you have any questions, we are live with Dr. Keis. We are discussing his book, The Quest for Purpose. So if you have any questions, have any comments, please feel free to ask your questions in the comments. definitely want to go and check out his book. Where is your book available, Dr. Keis?
Now, listen, I'm going to do because we did a podcast with you earlier, I still have that URL up, and I'm going to give everybody a free version of this book. If you want the physical one, you can still order it from us.
Okay.
So you're going to go to my speaker website, which is Ken Keis, KenKeis.com/Sharifah. So your name in the back, and so /, and they're going to be able to get a free copy of the ebook, The Quest for Purpose. And it's the full book. There's nothing that's been removed. And we're just gifting that to people who are watching and listening. And if they want to learn more, they can contact me. I have another site called thequestforpurpose.ca, but kenkeis.com has all that information on it. And it's KenKeis, S is in Sam.
Yes. That's very thoughtful, very giving, shows how warm you are. Again, we have quite a few people watching. Henry just joined us in the chat room, so if you have any questions. And I was just looking at one of the questions that I had. In the time that we last spoke, the last time you were a guest, I released my book, my new book, Signs You Might Be an Entrepreneur, How to Discover the Entrepreneur in You. How many books do you have, Dr. Keis?
I have 4, and then I've co-authored 12 assessments, and I've written 4 million words of content. So a few hundred articles in there, some other training programs, about 40 of those. Now, here's my encouragement to everybody watching. A lot of times, situations in life get you off track to what your calling is. Mm-hmm. And so you have to filter through not only the distractions, but also I'll call it deceptions or things that have misguided you. In grade 9, my grade 9 teacher said I would never amount to anything. And when I went to high school, it was prior to computers. I know I look very young and I don't look that old. And I feel young, and hopefully you feel the energy. My grade 9 teacher said I would never amount to anything because I couldn't read or write. And the reason it was discovered when I did my MBA, is that I have some dyslexia. So my going through school was prior to the computer. And so you didn't have programs like Word or Excel that showed you the word being misspelled. So now I write everything I do on the computer. I'm now written over 4 million words of content. No way when I was 16 years of age being put down by my grade 9 teacher did I ever think that I would be an author. And so part of our discovery, and for everybody watching, is that, first of all, every single person watching this, you have worth. Every single person watching this, you have purpose. You have meaning. If you don't feel it, that's not the truth. You have to kind of get below it. So when I was in high school, I was very low esteem. I was even suicidal when I was 18 and 19 because I just didn't really feel worth anything. And so all of us go through some of these feelings. So I've overcome that. Now, this is my 30th year in this business. I've done 3,000 presentations, as a speaker all around the world, and I'm blessed and thankful for all of that. But if I didn't let go of what that grade 9 teacher said, I'd still be probably on the dairy farm, which is where I grew up in there. So I knew that even when I was 16, that I wanted to be a communicator and maybe a speaker. But I didn't realize that it would evolve into being a writer. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes over life and maturity, you will uncover things that maybe weren't necessarily apparent to start with. That's fine. There's no rules in this, because guess who gets to decide if you're living on purpose or not? You do. It's not what Sharifah says. It's not what Dr. Ken says. It isn't what somebody else says. You get to decide. Now, not from a self-centered point of view, but from a self-honoring point of view, because there is a lot of narcissistic individuals out there now, which is all about you. It's really about bringing your full self. When you are in your space, your purpose, you bring an energy and a meaning and a contribution that is beyond what you could do just on your own if you're struggling or frustrated or, not in your zone per se. And so that's what my encouragement is, that the reason that we're not in the zone is that we haven't done the work to get there. I spent months in hiring a coach way back in the 80s when I was in my 20s. Really going through a process similar to this to figure out what are the clues and what is it that I'm about. And then my whole life is about refining that and discovering stuff. And maybe I find something new that I didn't know about a few years ago. So So that's great. That's beautiful that you've been able to kind of get into that space.
Wow, I almost wanted to just stand up and cheer. Like that was passionate. There was so much passion. That's why I brought you back. I wanted to have you back in because you are so straight to the point, passionate. And so on your book, you even say how to make the right decisions in your life every time. And that stood out to me because some of the things that you're saying today, I don't think a lot of people would say. They, like you said, been politically correct. They want to kind of sugarcoat it, make it soft. How can you make the right decision every time?
Well, part of it goes right back to what I said a moment ago, is going back and doing the work. Mm-hmm. So we talked about the values assessment before. So let's say our values preference indicator is our second most popular tool after our personal style indicator, which some people would call a personality tool. We get people to understand, and we go through a matrix, and that matrix, they make 300 decisions in 30 minutes because every single day is around prioritizing things. So example is, do you have some people who say their health's important to them, but they eat poorly and they never work out? Mm-hmm. Well, change your behavior to make your health most important or get it off your list. So what would it mean if you had your core values in front of you, whatever it is, 5, 6, 7, and then every decision you filtered it against those values? So let's say one of your values is challenge, but you're getting in a new job and you're just going to be a puppet on the end of a string for this job. Well, within a short period of time, you're not going to feel fulfilled. What if your job, one of your values is tranquility, but you've now taken a job in a data center for credit collections? Is that going to be, so, I mean, I'm giving you extreme examples, but the process or the system is the same for all of us. Is once I'm clear about what's most important to me, then that's why you can make the right decision every time. Now, it's a play on words, and there will be some adjustments as you go through it. But if I filter and use all the tools and resources in the book, then you'll be able to make the majority of your decisions that will be correct because you've already defined in advance. So example is, if you don't know what your values are, then anything will do. Mm-hmm. And if you say, well, I don't know what my core values are, I don't know what my motivational values are. Ours is behavioral values, which we call internal motivators. If you don't know what those are, then how would I expect you to make the right decision? Mm-hmm. It's difficult. So it's doing that work in advance or doing that work now to move towards that clarity. And the other one is, I want to encourage everybody that's watching, don't beat yourself up from where you're at. It doesn't matter. Nobody here can change time. I mean, there's some suggestion last week that somebody was able to move time back. I said, when that comes, then we can look at it. But until that point, is just start from where you're at. Don't beat yourself up. Don't get upset with yourself. Just said, okay, fine. If you said, I wasted the first 30 years, no, but don't waste the second 30. Just like get on with it. So no more excuses, no more whining. Don't be a victim. Take responsibility. That's the other side that we talk about in the book, is take 100% responsibility. As soon as you blame other people, you give the power of your life over to other people. That's what a place is that to be. So I'm not saying that what somebody else did was not inappropriate or contrary to where you want to go, but take responsibility for where you're at, where you're going, and your responses. Every single person watching this has a choice on how you respond. Are you emotionally mature and in charge, or are you just going to be a baby and be a victim? And don't be that, because that really disables your own life and your own ability to contribute.
Right. So that's what you discuss in the book. Again, we're talking about the book that I found quite interesting, but you talk about the mindset. How is your mindset to be able to succeed?
A lot of the other purpose books don't cover that either. Now, I quote my colleague's work, Dr. Martin Singelman's work on learned optimism, and he gave me permission to include mindset. So let's say I know my purpose, Sharifah. I know what my values are. I know sort of my calling, but I have a pessimistic mindset. I'm not going to realize my potential. So what Martin's work did in this book, Learned Optimism, what he proved over a 25-year study, is how I respond to success and failure is predictive to my success. Meaning, if I'm pessimistic, I am going to reduce my effectiveness. I'm going to reduce my success in life by being pessimistic. So here's a couple of things for those of you that are watching can consider. If I'm optimistic, what I do is, let's say I have success in life and I get a sale, let's say. well, then if I'm optimistic, I will own the sale. I would say, I worked hard for Sharifah to buy that from me. Not only am I successful in my sales career, I'm really successful in my friends. So what you do is you take that success and you permeate it all through your whole life. And then what you also do if you're optimistic is you present it into the future. Say, I just got this sale. I think I'm going to have a bunch more sales going into the future next month or next week or whatever it is. Here's what the pessimistic person does with success. I have no idea why Sharifah bought from me. I must have got lucky. You know what? I might have sold her, but the rest of my life sucks. And so my relationships are terrible. I can't seem to get a good job anywhere. And then what they also will do is they'll take that and they'll discount that success in the future. Said, well, it's just one sale. I don't know if I can get another one later. Now, here's the opposite for failure. So let's say I fail and Sharifah, you don't buy from me. An optimistic person says, you know what? I tried my best. Sharifah didn't want to buy from me, but that's okay. There's going to be somebody else later. Right. I'm going to contain that failure to that event. I'm not going to put it into the rest of my life. I'm going to contain that non-sale, if you would, to that moment and not project it in the future. A pessimistic person, what they do, and by the way, he researched all of this over 25 years, so it's a proven, credible piece of information for everybody that's watching, is that the pessimistic person said, if I didn't get the sale, said, is that where I was at? I'm just trying to remember what you had, is that I said, you know what, I didn't sell, and then everything else is poor. And then they project that failure into the future for all elements of their lives. So you can see the balance. And so what I talk about in mindset is how we think about things. The other one is our words. So people think, if you're whining, complaining, if you're negative, the research from a quantum theory point of view, it's interesting. This is fascinating stuff. Is you can actually, you change the molecular makeup of your environment. So I believe it's MIT, but I forget which university, where you're in one room, Sharifah, and I take a glass of water in another room and I have you go over there and you look at it, and then I put you into another room and you're not looking at it. And then I actually have you focus on that glass of water with negative emotions. You can actually change the molecular makeup of that water. So the reality is that how we think, and then our voice, what they're also proving from a learning point of view, is not only is writing a goal important, but saying it. So if I say it auditorily, it goes into my ear gate and it actually affects me at the cellular level. That is wild. That is crazy research. So when people are always whining, always complaining, and their mindset isn't optimistic, they are actually creating their future through their words. And somebody says, well, I don't want to lie about the future. Well, then if you can't say something positive about your future, then shut up. Don't say anything. And because part of the research is that you're going to contribute to your condition. So if somebody says, oh, I feel sick, I'm really tired. And actually by saying you're tired, you're going to make yourself more tired, and then you're going to keep doing it. And so what you want to do is push back on that. It says, you know what, I'm going to work hard to get my energy back up, or don't say anything at all. Just be quiet, because your words matter. They absolutely matter. And by the way, I need this today, Sharifah, more than anybody else, because I need to hold myself accountable on this too, to discipline over my words and what comes out of my mouth.
Yes, I think we all do. That's why I love the word abracadabra. People don't understand that it originally means I create what I speak. And that's what you do. You create magic, and you can create magic that will bring you all the blessings in the world, or you can create magic that's going to ruin your world. So we have to be very careful what we say. And that's very important. Now, we do have a few minutes left in the show. Again, we have quite a few people. Carolina, who just came in. Amber says, oh my God, thank you. She's just excited to be mentioned on today's live broadcast. So people are live. We are watching, discussing The Quest for Purpose by Dr. Ken Keis. So since we are down to the last few minutes, if you have any questions for Dr. Keis, I'll go ahead and ask them. Or if you just want to make a comment in the comment section, I'll go ahead and read those to Dr. Keis. But we have a few minutes, so I just want to give everybody the opportunity to get in on this show, and to make sure everyone went ahead and shared the show.
Sharifah, if I may, before you ask the next question, just a reminder, if they want to get a free copy, to go to kenkeis.com, KenKeis.com/Sharifah. and for it, and they'll be able to. I'll give them a free copy of the Quest for Purpose in an ebook format.
Do we do Sharifah? I thought we did ask for some reason. KenKeis.com/ask. No?
You know what? It could be. Oh man, did I get that incorrectly? Well, we'll make sure that you post that in afterwards and we'll just check. I'd have to actually go back. Maybe it's ask. Maybe it's ask.
Remember it.
Oh no, did we give it the wrong one to start with? So do I, let me just check here. So I'm gonna go on here line.
While we're live.
Okay. You are correct. It is ask. Oh, I stand corrected. Okay, so there we go. It's even simpler.
Yes.
KenKeis.com/ask. So my apologies to everybody before. Otherwise, you won't be able to get on, will you?
No, but it's okay. That's why we're live and we're here together. Go team. Amber in the chat room said, life is better when you know your personal purpose. Life is better when you know your personal purpose. So she's here supporting you in the chat room, commenting. So thank you, Amber, for that. Again, tell us where you can purchase your book or obtain your book.
Okay, go to KenKeis.com/ask and you'll get the free one. And then if my site there also has links to the book, or we also have the book site called the Quest for Purpose.ca. And the reason it's .ca is .com was taken already. So it has to be .ca, not .com. And then you can find out more. There's actually a free chapter on that site as well, and you can learn about it. And then we have both, not only soft cover, but we also, if you want to make this a real important piece of your life, you can also get the hardcover from us. And then that becomes an anchor point. Now, inside the book are all kinds of worksheets, questions, because we also use narrative. So we have a series of questions that we ask you that only you can answer. So we get you to create an autobiography in the book, because our life's left clues. So I'm going to ask you questions in different areas of your life to say, are you paying attention to all the positive experiences? So we don't get you to note anything that's negative or even neutral. The things where you're energized, where, you know, we don't believe in motivation. We believe that interests compel, interests draw you. So I don't have to force you to get onto this Facebook Live and interview people, do I?
No, not at all. I love it.
No. I mean, you're here, man. It's happening for you. And so for life, when we get into our inspiring sort of spaces, then interests really draw us in. I can't motivate anybody. You can't motivate anybody. In fact, most of us can't even motivate ourselves, but we can be inspired and drawn into what I love doing. I don't know why. I've been spoken in audiences of thousands, and I absolutely are jacked when that happens, because I have the energy of 1,000 or 2,000 people at a conference, you know, doing this. I have a workshop that I do around the Quest for Purpose, or a keynote presentation at an association. And it is energizing because I've just been able to serve all those people, and that that energy is kind of working through the audience. And a lot of people say, well, I'd never speak in front of those people. Well, I'm in the zone. That is exactly where I'm supposed to be. In addition to this, of course.
Absolutely. You are in the zone, and I love it. Now, since we are down to the last few minutes of the show, I would love to give you the opportunity to just really bring it on home. What do you want our viewers to take away from your interview?
Well, of course, I have a bias that they get the book. And the reason being is that it gives them a framework, so that they can go to the next level. A lot of times the question, Sharifah, about, you know, what's my life purpose is too big. They don't know where to start. And I'm not blaming anybody because you haven't clarified your purpose or all this work. No worries, no guilt. Get rid of shame, get rid of guilt. Take responsibility. And then start, as I said earlier in the show, start doing the most important thing, and that is doing the work. This is not going to show up on its own just because you watch the show. This show in this Facebook Live is giving you the framework for you to take action on, take the assessments, get the book, do the narrative. I spent 6 months and I hired a coach to do this when I was in my 20s. And then that started me on this road of, here I am 30 years later. You said before in the beginning of the show, how am I able to say all of this? Well, I've in 30 years written 4 books and all this content. It is no longer, I don't have to go and check my resources. It is part of my cellular level. The other thing that we said earlier, Sharifah, is every single person watching this matters. You're important. You know, if you're doubting yourself or wondering if there's a purpose for you, there is. And so if you don't have a purpose in life, then your purpose in life is to find your purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And focus on that, and take whatever time you need, get all the help that you need in terms of assistance, books, coaching from Sharifah or myself or whatever, to go to that next level. And the answers are there for you as long as you seek.
So we do have a question. Does your purpose, this is a question from the comments, does your purpose change throughout your life?
For the majority of people, purpose is an overarching statement or philosophy. How your purpose manifests change. For the most part, your purpose doesn't change a lot. So there could be some adjustments. So my purpose is to help others to live, lead, and work on purpose. Mm-hmm. How I'm doing it is completely different now than it was 20 years ago, like Facebook Live or podcasts. But the majority, once a person sort of gets that global meaning or global purpose in place, unless there's something traumatic, for the most part, it doesn't change a lot. Now, how I do it, and it's more form that will change, meaning the forms and the processes and the systems, like we creating e-courses now too, are adjusting in how my purpose is fulfilled. Good question, though.
Yeah, it actually was. Thank you for that question, Amber. So I would like to thank all of our viewers for tuning in. This has been a very informative show. And again, I enjoyed the book, The Quest for Purpose. I had a good read, nice, detailed, thick book. And then one of the things that I found so interesting was there were so many action sheets. If you can kind of take a look, blank pages where you can write in your own information and answer some of the questions. We talk about immediate family and different other aspects. And it wasn't just what I consider a book that just gives you all the information without allowing you to think about how the information affects you or how you as a person. So I thought it was a wonderful book, Dr. Keis. Thank you for presenting this to the world.
Thank you. You're welcome. And it's a privilege to be able to serve. And my encouragement is that if everybody could embrace their purpose, we'll have a better world.
Absolutely. I think that's a wonderful way to end the show. So thank you, Dr. Keis, for being a guest on today's episode of Ask Sharifah.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You are so welcome. And to all our viewers, if you missed any portion of this interview, please watch it in the archives. It will be available on my Facebook page, facebook.com/ILikeSharifah, my website, AskSharifah.com, as well as CrossroadsTV.com. And you know what? If you want to be a guest, contact me on AskSharifah.com. But don't forget to share these interviews, because friends don't let friends miss out on Ask Sharifah. Everyone have a wonderful day.